Hi, and welcome to the Smart India Hackathon 2019, the Designing Digital Solution Training Program. This is Manish Johari, in continuation with the previous module of how to study using mind maps. In this session, I will be covering the rest of it. Like you mentioned, how do we study? We have taken just the first point in the last one. In this one, we shall cover the others. Here you will learn how to make notes using an amazing, very powerful, simple, tried and tested technique, mind maps. You'll also see how the brain is a real great machine which can memorize things and really change the way you work. The modules that we will be covering will help you in your academics and also for your hackathon preparations. In the hackathon preparation, you need to absorb a lot of inputs. Your brain needs to come up with great ideas, and you need to be able to put them all on a single sheet of paper so that you see the interconnects. That's what this will help you do. So now let's get on and start point number 2, notes. So that's about speed reading. The second point that we do is underline and highlight and make notes. Many a time we are just bogged down with the volume of notes that we have to go through, and not only go through but also try to remember them. So what we do, we write notes in this format, right? And then we highlight certain words, the important words, the key words, we highlight them. So what happens typically is when we highlight the words and write them on a separate sheet of paper, we get another note. Let's do a small experiment, just a 30-second experiment. I shall now be flashing on the screen a list of 30 words. Okay, I would like you to go through them and then let us see how many we remember. Start. Okay, so we were talking about the beliefs of the education system. First one I asked you was about comprehension and the reading speed. Now I want to know your views on, do you think there is any relationship between understanding and memory? Understanding and memory. Do you think there is a relationship? If you have understood, does that guarantee that you will remember? Or if you have not understood, would it also imply that you will never remember? Let's think about it. To highlight my point, let's do a very small exercise. You just saw some words, 30 words flashed about maybe a minute ago. Can you write down the words that you remember? Yeah, go on. Try to remember them. Okay. Can you count the number of words that you've written down? How many did you manage? Well, that's for you to test yourself. Out of 30 words, which you saw about a minute ago, you are able to recall just a handful of them. Most people, they remember between 6 to 8 words. And do remember that this is when I have asked you this question just about a minute after I have shown you the slide. How many words would you remember if I had asked you the same question about maybe an hour later? And in that hour you have a lot of information coming your way? Then how many words can you remember? Something for you to think of. Tell me, did you understand all those words? Was there any word that you did not know the meaning of? You understood them all, correct? Then how come you could not remember all of them? How come you could not recall all of them and write down all of them? You see the disconnect? Our entire education system is on this premise that explain to the child, make them understand. So the most frequently used term in most classrooms is, have you understood? What do the exams test for? Memory. If understanding implies recall and you have understood in your classroom, it implies that you should get full marks in your exams. But that does not happen. The second myth that we've all grown up with is precisely this. We assume that understanding implies recall. Incorrect, totally incorrect. So again, Swayam along with awakenthegenius.org will teach you how to do that better. Let's get ready to spruce up our brain and do better. The second item that we do is note making. So what we are going to do, same 30 words, same brain for 30 seconds. Go ahead. Okay? These were the same words. We were talking about making notes. How is it that we take notes? We have all been trained very well, conditioned very well to take notes in a very particular way. We use a lot of words. Look at all your notes, a lot of words, a lot of numbers, correct? We write between the lines in a list format, one below the other, very neatly in a sequential manner, correct? It doesn't matter what subject we are doing, but this is the way we have been trained to take notes. How many of you use a single color, blue or a black pen? Yes, I think we've been using this since middle school, a single color pen. Single means mono and color means tone, monotone, which is the base of the word monotonous, that is monotonous. And what does monotonous be? When it's monotonous, it is very boring. So what happens to the brain? It switches off. When it's boring, you switch off. And then you say, I don't have a good attention span. Yeah? Nothing wrong with the brain, because the same child has maybe an attention span of maybe 10 or 15 minutes while studying. The same child can see a 2 or a 3 hour movie in the theater close to them without having any disturbance, without having any problem of the attention span. How does that happen? Well, nothing wrong with the brain, something wrong with the way the information is being fed. Now, I would like you to try to recall the words that you saw in the last time. Okay, count the words. Could you remember more than the first time, the linear note time, or could you remember less? Yeah, significantly more. Our survey suggests that in the linear format, most people remember 6 to 8 words. In the associated format, it goes up to 12 to 15 words. What changed? The words were the same, the brain was the same, the time given was the same. What changed? The way the information was being fed has changed. That's all. We have fed a lot of information to our brains by now, many hours of information. But has anybody bothered to tell you, or have you ever tried to find out how the brain works? Probably not. Let's do a small exercise now. Out of all the hundreds and thousands of hours of information that you have fed your brain with, I am going to call out a random word. Okay? And I would like you to close your eyes and listen to me for just about maybe 10-15 seconds. I will call out that word. And after you hear that word, I would like you to pay attention to what is it that you see and how fast you see it. Okay, two things. What do you see? How fast you see it. All right? Okay, so close your eyes. The word is food. All right, open your eyes. What did you see? How fast did you see it? I'm sure it was almost instantly. And what did you see? Did you see the letters FOOD, or maybe along with that, if you have seen them, along with that, did you see an image of your favorite food? It could be some cakes, or some chocolates, or some exotic dish that you like to have, or some desserts, or whatever you like. Did you see an image? Yes? Okay. Did that image have some shape? Mm-hmm. Some color? Mm-hmm. Well, why did you see an image? Did I ask you to see the image? No. You saw an image because that is the natural way for the brain to work. It's a very powerful image making machine. I just picked up a word, food. You could try that with any word you like. Your brain will come up with an image, rest assured. Well, knowing that the brain loves images, the brain loves color, let's try to see if we can try to change the way we feed information to our brain. Can we tweak it? So again, awaken the genius. That's where you will see it. Next level, which is a brain-friendly way of making notes. We know that the brain loves color. We know that the brain loves images. So let's try to convert the words that we have been using right now into a more brain-friendly way. The same 30 words to the same brain for the same time of 30 seconds. Now let's see what happens. This was better to look at. What was the first impression that you got? How was this impression different than the very first list, linear list in black and white, which was shown to you? Was this different? Was this more appealing? Did your brain enjoy it? Okay. Now try to write the number of words that you remember. And you know, at this time, typically, I have to pause for a much longer time. Because I can hear a lot of writing happening there. Okay. Can you now please count the number of words? Was there a slight improvement or a remarkable jump? I'm sure it was remarkable jump. Our surveys suggest that in this format, people invariably remember more than 20 words easily. Now, something for you to think about. The same 30 words given to the same brain for the same time of 30 seconds. You have dramatically increased the number of words that you can remember. And try this exercise. After an hour, now try to remember how many words you can remember. After a day, try to remember how many you can recall. It'll be interesting for you to note. Do you remember in the linear format? Or does your brain recall the colorful images that were shown in the last one? The third item is memorizing. Why is memory important? Well, that is the only way you will get your marks in exams. If you remember the answer during the exam time and are able to write it, you will get your marks. Yep. What happens to your ability to recall information as time goes by? You've attended a lecture this morning in your classes. Yeah. How much of the details do you recall now? So, if I were to draw a graph of recall versus time, how should it look? As the time goes on, would your recall go up or would it come down? Well, definitely it will come down if you are trying to recall in the same traditional old way that we have been used to. So it's coming down, all right? So you're forgetting, okay? So what should be the slope of this graph? Should it come down initially or should there be some other way? Let's try to see. For some of us, it could be in this format. For others, it could be a slight plateau on the top and then it comes down. Yeah. For some of us, well, we are not sure what we remember or not. And believe me, for most of us, it's a vertical drop, almost a vertical drop. Professor walks out, out goes everything else. But the one in purple is actually the way the brain remembers things. Looking at that graph, can you take a guess in terms of percentage? How much do you forget in what time? Yeah? Well, 80% of the details are lost in the first 24 hours. And that's very easily found out, you know. If on Monday you've attended a class and on Wednesday morning the professor comes and says, okay, I'm taking a surprise test. you'll know exactly how much you remember. It's very easy to find that out. But what is really surprising is that the same brain behaves very differently in different situations. For example, we would like you to have good real fun. We want you to bring back the love of learning. That's our intention. Students come and tell me, and young students at that, sir, what's the point of studying when I'm going to forget it all? They are totally disillusioned with learning, which is not a good thing for the future of that child. You have to bring back the love of learning. For that, you need to have a good memory. We use memory techniques to help you recall things because, as the brain works, if you know something about a subject and then you read something more about it, the brain associates with what you know previously. It links up to that basic knowledge. But if your basic knowledge itself is very flushy, floozy, well, where will it link on to? So you need to have a good memory. And there are ways to build it up. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with the memories of your brains. Because when I ask students, how many times do you have to listen to a song before you can remember it? Well, the answer comes back, sir, maybe once or twice, and we know the whole song. And they remember the song for weeks and months and years. Even if they have not heard it for a few months, and if it's playing in the background, they start humming and singing along with it. Amazing brain. But the same brain has to read that physics chapter 5 times and that history chapter 7 times before they are ready for the exam. And 3 days after the exam is over, that portion is wiped clean from your head. Oh, really? Did I study that? But the same brain can remember a song for months and years. Why is the brain behaving so differently? So uniquely? Something for you to think about. Let us transform the way we work. Let us transform the way we use our brain. Right now, studying is a chore. You don't want to do it. It is a sure shot sleeping pill. When your parents see you working, studying, struggling, what do they say? They say, study hard, study harder. But what does that mean? Does it mean that if I'm studying for 4 hours, I need to start studying for 6 hours or 8 hours? But I don't have that much time because the portion to be completed is huge. I need some additional skills, additional tools and techniques which will help me finish my portion and retain and recall the information. That's what Swayam along with awakenthegenius.org does. You know the word Swayam? Swayam means on your own, by yourself. The moment the student realizes that I can study on my own, I am not dependent on the tutor to feed information to me, they open a whole universe for themselves. Once they start how to read fast, once they know how to make brain-friendly notes and memorize them, well, that's when they can get onto the internet and many other reference areas, books, libraries, and absorb a lot more information, much more than what the course wants or the textbooks or the syllabus prescribes, or even much more than what your professor knows. But for that, you have to do it yourself, Swayam. your brain can really be transformed totally. We invest a lot of time, effort, money in studying, but now the time has come for us to change. Work smart, not hard. Our brain, you must have heard somewhere, is divided into two parts, the left hemisphere and the right. Do you recall the slide which I showed when how do we take notes? Yeah. There are words, there are numbers, lines, lists. Yes, that's the way we feed information to the brain, correct? In the single color notes, which is all left brain. But when I asked you to see food, you saw an image, had some color, had some shape. Do you see the difference in the way the information is being fed to the brain, the input, and the way the brain is processing it, giving you the output? There is a disconnect. The right side of the brain deals with color, images, daydreaming. Yeah. Do you like songs? I'm sure you do. And you can remember them effortlessly. All right. Now tell me, looking at this image, which side of the brain gets engaged when you listen to songs? Yeah. Do you think it's the right? Because there is rhythm, imagination. Look carefully. Songs are words from the left combined with rhythm from the right. A combination of left and right. If it was only left, it was only words, it would become a poem. And we don't remember poems as easily as a song. Because the moment we introduce any right, any attribute from the right, the moment we introduce that and combine it with any attribute from the left, your brain works better. So you remember this image? It's very beautiful to look at, full of color, full of images, has words, and this is a mind map. So when you create a mind map, you are automatically using more than just your left side. You are using the inherent qualities of the brain. Mind map was given to the world almost 50 years ago by this amazing gentleman called Tony Buzan. His mission is to equip every human being with the operations manual, how to use the brain more effectively. It is a very simple technique, but a very powerful one at that. Any information that you need to feed your brain with, convert that into a mind map and then feed it, and your brain will perform magic. Like I said, this is going on for 50 years, tried and tested across the world. Tony has written 150 books. Mind Maps for Business, a very nice book, very good. Why? Because it also has our center signing photo in that. Jas and myself, as you see in the picture, well, we are the first Indians to get the license to train others from the Buzan organization. And even today, we are the only center in India of Tony's organization. Note making. How does a mind map change the way you work? We have seen hundreds and thousands of such passages, right? The traditional way of note making. Our textbooks are full of such kind of pages. What if the same information could be fed to our brain in a more brain-friendly way. And which is that way? A mind map, which uses color, uses images, also uses words and numbers. Let's try to see how a mind map would look if this information was to be converted. This is one of the many ways that it could be done. You see, it has a very powerful central image. Your brain, your eyes go first to the central image. Make it vibrant, make it full of life. All the information from here is available here. So when you're creating a mind map, you are more engaged. More of your brain is engaged. You're drawing these small sketches. You're repeatedly drawing and coloring. Yeah? Your brain loves it. You're creating those small neural pathways which will help you recall what you were doing, what you were coloring, what you were drawing, what color you were using. All the information here is here. This is better to look at, definitely. And this will be with you for a much longer time than this. You know, actually, in our travels across the country, we have found students converting 10 to 15 to 20 pages of their chapter onto a single sheet. One sheet taking care of 20 pages. Can you imagine the amount of time that you will save when you revise? You don't have to revise 20 sheets. One sheet is good enough. So the mind map has been around for the last 50 years now. Just see how interesting it is. It's full of color. Look at the way the branches are created. They are thick at one end and tapering out. Look at the way the words are written on top of the branches. The size of the words will determine the importance. The more important words, can make them in capital letters, make them bold. Try to use just one word on a branch. One word. So, for example, if we have to read this mind map, we start at the 1 o'clock position and go clockwise. So, it says construction, 20 years. Theory 1 says that it used a ramp. Theory 2 says it used a lever. Do you see the use of simple images, line diagrams to denote a ramp, to denote a lever? Very easy to do it. So even when you're writing, what's happening? Your brain is getting engaged. From start to finish, we use the same color for the lines or the branches and the words. Same color from start to finish. The sub-branches come out only from the end of the branch tip. Note that, only from the end of the branch tip. Adjacent branches are of different colors. So, blue, then red, then brown, or any color scheme that you choose. Color would be used as a memory trigger. Your brain, after a while, hey, there was something on the brown branch that I had written. It's going to use that. Hence, we should not have two same color branches next to each other. Use images wherever possible and try to make these images multicolored. Well, images are actually multicolored everywhere. Try to use that. Start reading from the 1 o'clock position and you go clockwise. So then the shape is mentioned, the size, the sides, the error percent, everything is mentioned there. Now, let us say you have captured this information in the form of a mind map. And a while later, you come across some additional information on the pyramids. If you were writing a linear note, it would have been very difficult for you to introduce something in the middle, right? The paragraph is already done and you have some additional information which you want to include in that. It becomes difficult for you to enter it. But here, it's very easy. Just add another sub-branch or if required even a main branch and you can just keep adding onto your mind map. A mind map is organic. It keeps growing. As your data bank increases, as your knowledge base increases, you can just keep increasing your size of the mind map, the information on the mind map. It's very simple. It's not a constant thing. It keeps increasing. When you start off, you might be a little apprehensive about using color. Well, that is because of your conditioning of all these years. But believe me, use color. Start using images. There is an artist in everyone. It's just that we have not explored it better. Start using single dimensional line diagrams to start off if you want, and then graduate slowly into three-dimensional, multicolored, amazing sketches that you will come up with. The beauty is, the mind map has to make sense to you. You could also share it with your friends. So many students today, what they do, if they have to study together in a group, well, they say, okay, history chapter 1, child A is doing, chapter 2, B is doing, chapter 3, third person is doing. They all create the mind maps. All the information in the text is available in the mind map form. And then what do? They share it amongst each other. Hey, I will teach you chapter 1. You teach me chapter 3. Simple. You save a lot of time. Collective learning. And you will remember a lot more in this manner, even though it is created by someone else. It is ideal that you create it yourself, because the images that you will create will have a lot more information possible than what somebody else will have, because your viewpoints are different. Try doing it on your own first. But if you are really pressed for time, ask a friend to help you chip in. Distribute the work and then get together. It will work wonders. Another thing that mind maps does is that it gives you gaps in information. For those of you who are planning for the hackathon, well, this is a very important aspect. You would be given certain information, right? If you put that information into a mind map, you will be able to identify the gaps of information, areas that you need to work on before you can start working on the actual solution. I need some additional information here. This is not enough. I need something more. What happens if this? All this becomes difficult if you're doing it in a linear format. But the moment you put it on a mind map, all the information is there for you to see in that one sheet. You can see the interconnects. How is branch 1 connected with branch 4, for example? Is there an interconnect? You can do that easily. Yeah. So there are certain basic laws of mind maps. which are to be followed, and you know where you can find them. But yes, these are the broad outlines. Use color, use images, one word on a branch. The words are to be written on top of the line. The length of the word should be as close as possible to the length of the line. Sub-branches will come out from the end of the branch tip. Okay, very intuitive, very easy to follow, start to finish, same color, different color branches adjacent to each other, make a very powerful central image, and you're ready. You can convert your text into a mind map. This is a rudimentary way of showing it to you. For finer, detailed discussions, you know where to go. Just a few more examples I'll show you. This highlights the end of the branch tip very nicely. The thickness of the branches can be seen very clearly here. You can do it on any aspect. You're talking about memory principles. How do I increase my memory? You can create a mind map on that. It doesn't have to be always study, study, study. It could also be, what do I like to do in life? Where do I see my future? What are the areas that I need to explore? While I was planning for this talk, well, my first step that I did was create a mind map. When I'm traveling anywhere, I create a mind map. What do I have to carry with me? Where all do I have to go? Who all do I have to meet? When I'm meeting them, what are things I have to give them? Everything falls in place. Some of us might feel, well, we are already doing that in a linear format. Our parents and grandparents have worked pretty fine. Yes. But why not do it in a brain-friendly way? In a way that you love doing. You can add, delete, whatever you want, whenever you want. This is a 50-year-old technique, tried and tested. The body systems. Doctors are doing that. Well, I could go on and on. But our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has written a book called Exam Warriors. Yeah. And in this, he writes, given on the next page is an example of a mind map. Likewise, you can make a mind map on the topic of your choice. Correct? My question to you is, why would a person at that level recommend a technique if it's not good? He knows it's good. He wants the youth of our nation to implement it. He has given a rudimentary way of creating mind map, yes. We got inspired by him, and we have now authored a book, Steps to Ace Your Exams, in which we've covered mind mapping, speed reading, and memory techniques. This is brought to you by us. We have the best exposure and expertise in the country. And of course, you know, Jas is a world speed reading champion. Very same techniques that she used, she has shared with you. Well, this book is available on Amazon for those of you who want it. But I would like you to seriously consider awakenthegenius.org, visit that portal and learn for yourself. Because our aim is to help you start loving how to study. The future belongs to those who know what is to be done with the knowledge that is available to them. You see, knowledge is available to everybody. What you do with it will make you stand out. You need to learn more than what you are being fed with today in the traditional way of your tutor feeding you. You need to learn on your own. That's what our study skills package helps you do. Speed reading, mind maps, memory techniques, and the revision formula. And all these will help you in every aspect of your life, in academics as well as in your career. Also, in your hackathon that you're planning for, all this is brain based. In the hackathon, when you've been given the issue, once you start mind mapping first the problem and then try to find out the solution, it becomes very easy. You need to start implementing that wherever possible. We have spent a lot of time, more than a decade and a half, in bringing it in a format that helps students of India with all these skill sets. We like to see our students start loving learning. You learn how to learn, then you decide what you want to learn. You decide that. You want to learn physics, nuclear physics, astrophysics, quantum physics, biology, biotech, whatever. You decide what to learn after you know how to learn. And that's what we help you learn, how to learn. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm sure you would have benefited by this module. The Smart India Hackathon 2019, we would like you, all your students who are planning for this, specially to go through these courses. It will change the way you approach it. Your brain will start thinking very differently, performing very differently. All the best.